together today. And I'm sure a lot of you have experiences in this area. Stefula, the next slide. Just a quick thing about me, just a little story about myself. Why am I excited about project management? How did I get into it? I started off like everybody else, thinking of what will I do? What is it that would interest me? I started off from an administrator. And in the course of that journey, I found out that problem solving, I was inquisitive. I want to understand how to do things. And my brain is wired in a structured way where we know that we need to do things in a particular way. So I think for me, it's part of my interest and what really makes me feel that I'm contributing or adding value. So if you like to work in a structured way, you like things to be done properly, you like to learn, because that's one of my curiosity about learning the new things, because started back in 2004. And it was like, okay, I want to understand more about this project management. I worked in an industry. I worked with TfL, Transport for London, where it's more about transportation. So we have infrastructures. So the projects I'm involved in are infrastructure-based projects. So I worked with the engineers. So your brain has to be ticking. Working with engineers, you need to learn the terminologies, and we're exposed to a lot of risk and issues. So it's about thinking out of the box and bringing so many things together to be able to learn and to say, okay, this sounds interesting. So that's how I found myself in the world of project management. And since then, it's been a journey because it's a step-by-step process. You learn one stage, you get interested into the other, and then you go for the qualifications. And there are different qualifications, there are different modules. Now it's more simplified now that you can have different the modules are now so much simplified. You can decide to do change management, you can decide to do management of value, you can decide to do different elements of project management. Now, you can decide to specialize in risk management. So it's now opened up so many things for people that you can really do something that interests you, what you enjoy most. You can find yourself in it. And it's always in project management, you can see program management, you see portfolio management. It just depends on the organization where you work. And it depends on what they focus on the P. And it also depends on the kind of projects or programs, the value that you're involved with, the sensitivity will determine. And it also depends on the strategy of the organization. What's the direction of the organization? What's the vision of the organization? Where are we trying to get to? All those things will inform what the P will be. However, the skill set is the same. And that's where your passion comes into it. You must be interested. You have to be someone that you want to work in the thick and have a little bit of understanding with people. In fact, not little bit, a lot of understanding, because you need to be someone who is a good listener. You must be able to listen and pay attention so that you can connect with people. A lot of people, you will have to be the trainer. You will have to be the one to educate them because you are interested. So your interest is what you need to transfer onto others. So that's what we call the influencing ability. You need to be able to influence them. And you do that by various ways of communication and getting around to talk to those people. So here I am as a program manager, been enjoying it, and I'm still enjoying it because I've added different things to it as well. So, and education, I always say it's something that it is with you for life. You need to keep learning. You never stop. Every time I improve myself, I look for what other things are going out there. I jump onto it and just try to understand, especially with AI now in the world, trying to understand how does it impact project management activities, how are the things that can use or the organization can benefit from. So the more you know, the better for you in this world of project management. It is not static. That is the thing. It is quite fluid. And it is so flexible, very adaptable. And it suits you can actually do anything with it in any organization where you may find yourself. And that's my story in a nutshell. Stefano, next one. Thank you. So let's get into the meat of it. What exactly is project management? It's got key things. It says it's the application of the processes, the methods, the skills, knowledge, and experience. You need those vital elements. They all come together to achieve that objective. No matter the organization, no matter the environment, no matter the work you're involved in, you need to understand what's the process. How do I go from A to B? In going from A to B, what's my approach? And that's your method. How do I do that? And oh, how can I? What skills do I have? Am I able to do it? How will I do it? And the knowledge is about, what do I know? How much of these things do I know? Okay, they want me to work with the project manager to deliver a construction work or to deliver a software deployment. How much of that information do I know? What knowledge do I have about software development? So it's about you first checking yourself and the experience. What experience do I have? What are the relevant experience for me to be able to achieve this specific project objective? And that's what project management is about. It sets out very clear goals, very clear defined outcomes, inputs and output, or what is expected. So you need to know ahead before you jump into it. And peradventure, you've jumped into it. Even when you jump into something, you're thinking, why did I jump in the first place? So you've gone back. So you do retrospective thinking and reflection, and you start to put those things back into where they should be. And that's what project management is about. That's why I say everybody is a project manager one way or the other. Our lifestyle, the way we live, we project manage it, because every day you think, what am I going to do today? That's your planning stage. You start planning right from the beginning. And you look at what are the things that could waste my time. You start to remove them. You're already doing one form of project management or the other. So this definition is based on the APM body of knowledge. You have it that some projects are managed with a finite time scale and budget and with a constraint. However, I'm going to touch on these two things. There are two popular frameworks. You have the Prince2, which is a structured. And Prince2's structured way of delivery includes the Agile as well. So we now have Prince2 with Agile now that you can do, and you can do Prince2 on its own. Why is it that? It's because we are evolving. The project management world is evolving. So you have the standard Prince2 product with the framework, which is structured. And also, that's what we tend to refer to it as the waterfall. That is, you finish one stage, then you move to the second stage, you finish it. So it's got this end to start process to it. You complete a stage, then you start another one. But now you have another one called the Agile, which is quite iterative, which is adaptive, which means you can do it in little chunks. So with that one, you have a lot of activities happening almost at the same time, but within a very short time span. So you have like 4 weeks. They call it sprint. So you have the Scrum or the Kanban. Basically, it's about doing it in little chunks, and you learn as you go. So the learning from chunk A, you use it to implement chunk B. So the mistake you made in chunk A, you won't make it when you are delivering chunk B. So those ones are called sprints. So you do it in sprints, but I refer to them as little chunks. So it's always like a 4-weekly thing. The delivery and of those projects, they are different. So if you're using the traditional one, which is a waterfall, you have a lot of planning time to it, which you don't tend to have when you're doing Agile. It's quite flexible and it's quite fast. So you need to really think on your feet. Unlike something with a waterfall where you are able to think through and you're thinking, this is the end product. That's the end point. That's where we want to get to. And we can build the blocks to get to it. But when you refer to Agile, you're building the blocks as you go along and delivering a product. So we want to build a house, but building a house, we're thinking, okay, we are the people, we can decide to say we're going to do it in 3, 4, 5 phases and say the foundation is one first. When we complete foundation, we think of what else we do next. So our first thing is about the foundation. So the focus is going to be on the foundation, nothing more outside the foundation at that stage. It's when you complete that you think, oh, okay, now we've done the foundation. However, we were thinking that we wanted to build a 2-story. That was our initial thought. But with what we have now and the time we have now, let's try a 1-story first and see if you try this material and see how solid it will be. That's the way you will work when you're doing an agile process. You do it step by step, but it's mostly applied when you're looking the retail on the industries, when you're looking at IT, mostly is in the IT world, you use the agile project management approach. But when you're looking at constructions, mostly it is mostly waterfall. But we have what we call the hybrid model, where you merge waterfall and agile together. And that tends to happen when you're having a change a lot in your design phase. So you have different phases in delivery. When you're in your design phase, you can have different iterations where you go for different approvals. And so you make changes along the line. So you can be agile in that way. So sometimes you're going to have a lot of people using them interchangeably. It's still the same thing. Next one. Thank you. Yes. There are key areas that we need to concentrate on. So I pulled out some key areas for us. When you're in a project management, when you start to wear the project management hat, you want to be thinking strategically and clearly, and you're very specific, because once you can get those train of thought, you're able to pull everything you want to work with, you want to work on, and the people you want to work with together. And the vital one is, why is this project necessary? You need to define it. You cannot be vague about it, because when you are very vague, it means you can continue to go around in circles and still not deliver an output at the end of the day. You would have wasted a lot of resources. And secondly, it must be the right product for that particular reason. So if you don't understand why you're doing something, don't start. The why is very, very key, and it applies to anything we're doing. If I'm going to the office, I must think, why am I going into the office? Why don't I sit at home to work? If I can't justify it, there's no point me stepping out of my house. So we need to always understand the why, because when you understand the why, you understand the value you're going to add to it. Because if you're not adding value, don't bother. Don't waste your time, because nobody will say it. Even you will not be satisfied. It's very key, important that we understand the why. And 2, you agree on project delivery methodology. That is one thing that is very important. You may be working in an organization that has what I've just explained about the agile process, the framework, and also the waterfall framework. And you're thinking, oh, probably you're a very highly skilled agile person, you're a Scrum person, you're thinking this is how we're going to do it. Yes, it could work, but you need to agree as a team. Understand, how are we going to deliver this particular project? Because when you now understand the methodology, it is easy for you to plan. It is easy for you to understand what kind of deliverables should we be delivering? What naming convention are we going to apply? And how do we name a product? So it's very important that you understand the delivery methodology. Moving on, you've got what's called the requirements gathering and the specification. When you're delivering any project, there's always an ask. You have stakeholders. You have someone who have said, or some people who have said, this is what we want you to do. So they've got something in their mind. What is in their mind, you need to put it down. It needs to be documented. That clarity is very specific. You need to understand what is your acceptance criteria. Don't just think, oh, I know what you mean. I understand. No, that's your thought. You need to bring their thought to paper. Write it down, document it, let it be approved, let it be signed. Know exactly what the requirements are, because that is what you are going to map up your delivery at the end and match it together and see whether you achieved your objectives when you started off, regardless of which methodology you are applying. It is very important, especially if you're working in an agile environment, because things change so fast. So you want to make sure that you capture what is the requirement and you know exactly what you are delivering. Then project planning. Project planning could be short and could be long. I've worked in both areas where you find the planning and it's short and sometimes it is longer depending on the project you're delivering, depending on the timeline you've got. Also, the resources available to you also helps with your planning. But failing to plan just means that you plan to fail. So no matter what, no matter the pressure being put on you, don't ever skip the planning stage. Very important. You must plan. And budgeting. We have to understand that finance is key to anything you want to do. I can decide to have everything, but do I have enough capital to have everything? And that's one question that we always have to ask as a project management professional. What is my budget? What am I allowed to spend on this project? And that will help you to be able to identify the must have and the nice to have in your deliverables. And then you can always go back to the requirements, because remember, you gathered the requirements. You can now go back to your requirements and say, okay, let's go back on the drawing board, because the budget you have available will not deliver all these requirements. So let's prioritize it. Which ones are the nice to have? Which ones are the must have? Which ones are the maybe? And that will help you to go through that and know with your budget, this is what we can do. Risk and issue management is something I am very, very passionate about. Never, ever say everything will go according to plan. You must always be open and think of things, what could go wrong? Because don't be surprised, it will. The least thing you expect might be the one that will trip you off in your delivery. As simple as it could be, that you've got all the necessary resources, everybody's on board with your project, you've got this 4-week sprint, all the developers are here, we're ready to go. One morning, somebody calls in and says, I was on my way to work and they had an accident. And that might be one of your key variable, your key developer, your key resource. That has caused a delay without you knowing it immediately, because you now need to think, who's going to take that job on? We're now under pressure to deliver to a certain time scale. Remember, you've already budgeted for all those people. If you are thinking, okay, I'm going to ask somebody else to do it, that's additional cost. And those are things, that's why risk management is very key, because you need to think of those things. They might look simple, but they are very, very, very important. We don't ignore them. As I said, your stakeholder management is the bedrock of any successful project delivery. When you gain your stakeholder buy-in, you're sure to succeed. But to be able to do that, you need to be able to understand, who are my stakeholders? Who has the authority? Who can stop me? Who can push things forward for me? Who are the people that I can approach to remove the bottlenecks? Because you need to identify those your stakeholders and you need to manage them closely. Because once you have somebody who is a voice for you, then you are fine, you're sorted. But when you don't have a voice, in the necessary place, then you may struggle. And reporting, everything you do, you must be able to document it. You must be able to report on your progress. You must be able to report on your performance. You must be able to say, oh, last month we said we were going to do this, this, and that. This month we achieved this. When you show your stakeholders, you show people movement and progress, they're always excited because that is you achieving the goal. And for you as an individual, it shows that I am achieving something, gaining something, and also learning, because everything is happening at the center. And don't ever forget your project closure. You must always close it and celebrate it. No matter how small it is very important that you would say, because if you don't close a project and you leave it open-ended, you find some people might mess it up for you and say you didn't finish the project you started with because they've added other things to it, which were not part of your original objective or your original scope. And the reason is because you didn't close it. So you have to close it and say, we finished it. This is what we said we were going to do. Do a checklist. Boom, I'm done. I am finished. Somebody said, oh, by the way, we could do something. I said, yeah, fantastic. We can do that. But that's not the original objective has been met. What you're asking for is an additional work. So that's a different thing. So if someone is doing like the KPIs or measuring your performance, you will not be marked down because it's an additional work. They will mark you on what was originally agreed and you achieve whatever your KPI is. But if you leave it open and you just keep saying, yes, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, you find out that at the end of the day, you might even lose the value of that project to start with, because when you have a lot of other things being added into the bag, it messes up the whole thing. So it's very important that you close at the right time that you said you're going to close. Next slide, please. Yes, coming back to key skills, this is referring to you as an individual. When we're looking at what are the skills do I need? And that comes back to transferable skills. Everyone has a transferable skill. No matter the world or industry that you work in, we all have it. But the key thing is transitioning into project management is a different thing you need to think about, that these are things you want to do. So communication and negotiation, you must be able to communicate clearly and be able to negotiate. And we know communication is not just about the words only. The body language carries a lot of weight. You must pay attention to that. Don't be ignorant about that. Leadership and team management, very important. As a project manager or whatever role, even as a project coordinator, a PMO, anything you find yourself in the project management world, you must have the leadership skill. Don't think the people at the top are the leaders. No, everybody is a leader. Because the moment that you're working in a project management environment, you're leading people in doing certain things. You're telling them how to do it, what to do. So you're carrying people along. So you must be able to carry people along. You must be confident in yourself and work with the team. So it's not just about I, it is about we. When you make that very clear, it makes your life much easier. And time management. We have to be very proactive, not reactive. When you manage your time, you don't say yes to everything because you can never finish everything. Learn to say no and plan. Prioritize. Prioritize. It is very, very key. You can't do everything. So a good time manager is a good project manager. Planning and organizing. Just as it says in the word, you must be able to organize yourself. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot be all over the place. You must be able to sit down and think through what you're going to do. It's like having a vision. You have a vision, you have a goal. What's your roadmap? How am I going to get there? Where am I going? It's very important that you plan and then you organize. So Once you're able to get that into your personal daily life, it is very easy, even in a project management world, because you'll be able to put everything that is out of your control into where they should be. So your center of influence, you know what it is. What's outside of your control, you know how to work with them. And that's very important when you're planning. Then your problem solving and critical reasoning. As a project manager, I don't see how you want to work in that environment without just thinking of how do I solve the problem? Because most times all you have is an ask. I want to do this. So it's like they've told you this is the thing we're looking at doing. So it's for you to think inward and think, okay, how do we go about it? Get a team together, get people together. That's already part of problem solving. You already thinking, okay, we might need this skill set, we might need this person, we might need this person. It's you already problem solving. And you're thinking through, how do we get to the end point? And budgeting and financial management, just as I said earlier on, you cannot be ignorant about that. I've worked with project managers who said, oh, the finance is not my problem. It's a finance team's problem. And I said, hold on a minute. You're accountable for that. It's your project. It's in your name. If it runs over the budget, where are you going to get the money to complete the project? So it's about painting the reality sometime to the project managers or whoever you're working with. But if you don't have that understanding, you will not be able to paint that picture for them to see that it's part of their responsibility. And like as previously said, the methodology is very key. Knowing what methodology, what framework, what are we applying to this delivery. So whether it's agile, whether it's waterfall, whether it's a hybrid model. And technical proficiency, it's about familiarity with the tools. There's so many tools out there. In short, now we have so many tools out there, but I've only picked one or two of them. When you're looking at scheduling, you have the MS Project, which is a simple tool that helps you to schedule. Schedule is just about your planning, your timing for your tasks, activities, or when you want to do it. But there are different ways to do it, different tools to use for it. Collaboration, we looked at Trello. So it's about, sometimes you have, in Agile world, you have the stand-up meetings. It also working on your backlog. These are the things, it's like a post-it note. I call it a post-it note. You put things on that post-it note and you look at the post-it, which one has been done, which one hasn't, and you're moving it on to the next page and say, okay, this moves to the next page because this one has been completed, it moves to stage 2. So it's understanding that you do that collaboratively. And you talked about the Agile board, which is similar, the Jira, when you're using Jira, is also making sure that the next people know what has been done, where it is now with the developer A or B or thing, who is doing what. So it's clear where we are going. And reporting, basically, any tool can be used for reporting as well. And we now have more people using visualization tools such as the Power BI. So it's just making it pretty. Bringing all the data into something that looks pretty and good as a dashboard and colorful so that they can easily understand it. Senior managers are not so much interested in the level of details that you know, but they are much more happier when they see things in a thumbnail or they see things colorful with rack status. They're able to know, okay, this is where we are. These are our challenges, and you make it pretty for them. They're happy to go with it. Next slide, please. Yes. So if you're like me that transitioned into project management, the key thing, as I said, is to understand the role. Is the role for me? It is very important to understand what is expected in that role because there are core responsibilities. Just like as I explained earlier on, you need to understand planning, execution, what does delivery mean, the communication, the budgeting, the risk management. Am I somebody that would like to sit down and be doing all these things, be thinking for people? Am I someone that will want to help people to plan? Am I somebody that is going to monitor what they are doing? So you need to think about these things. Does it fall? Is that your nature? Are you somebody that can sit down and actually work on your own or work with people? Or are you someone that you know that, okay, I can't do the details. My attention span is very short. So it's understanding, what does this role require of me and what skill set do I have before you jump into it. And secondly, you assess and evaluate your transferable skill, because you need to know, do I have the required skill set? It looks simple, but it's demanding. Because if you don't have the skill set, you will be frustrated. You're going to have a lot of people challenging you. But if you know it, you'll be able to stand up to the challenge. But if you don't have it in you, you will get frustrated and you will leave. So that's why it is very important that you see yourself first in the role before undertaking the role. Understand, which skill do I have? If you've got good leadership skill, you've got good communication skill, you've got good problem solving skill, you'll be fine. Because that means you're open to learning. You're open to somebody challenging you. You're open to somebody questioning you, and then you're able to explain yourself. And you're also open to learning, because you won't get it right all the time. There are times you're going to be wrong, but accepting that you're wrong and taking correction constructively and moving on is a very good skill for a project management person. And very easily said, learn the fundamentals. You cannot be in project management without learning the terminologies, learning the fundamentals. What do they mean when they say this? You knowing it can allow you to tell a layman person in a layman's language. But when you need to speak the project management world, or you need to speak using those terms, you should be able to do that as well. But if you don't have that understanding, you're unable to translate it for somebody who doesn't understand it. So it's about getting yourself into that training. Sometimes, I remember when I was going to go into project management, years of, I don't know whether they exist now, Emsley Fraser was where I started my training, which is about fundamentals in project management. I did a lot of all those courses to first understand, is this for me? Is this something I would like to do? And from there progress into the professional qualifications. So these ones, I've listed a few things here. Coursera is something that is now popular. I've had some friends who have gone on the project management certificate on there to open up their mind to see what it entails. You can do it with the PMI, the basis of project management. LinkedIn is another thing that is reigning now. Most people can go on LinkedIn. And you do the foundations of project. I've been there. I've gone to see what LinkedIn have. They've got some stuff on LinkedIn. It's to open up your mind, to make you to see, okay, what is exactly is in that world? And it will show you a lot of stuff. But it is important that at least have an understanding before you say, oh, I want to go into project management. And don't just jump in. Gain the practical experience. Experience is key. So it could be in your current workplace. Speak to the people who work in projects. You might be an administrator. I remember my days. I just approached them and said, okay, I'm interested in how you go about this. It was bus priority in those days, that the bus shelters. I want to understand how you deliver these bus shelters. That's how I got into project management. And so I started with understanding, what do we need to do? How do we go about getting the consultants? How do we go about the commercial elements of the project management delivery? How do we do the contract? What are the things that needs to be done? So get yourself into it. I wasn't bothered that I wasn't paid for it, because it wasn't my role, but I decided that I was going to go and understand how it works. And when I did, I gained that experience. I went up and did the qualification to back it up. And that was how I started to be in a project management environment. But like I said, start small. Take little steps towards your ultimate goal. Don't jump. I've seen people that will say, oh, they've just done a project management qualification, they've done Prince 2. After doing the Prince 2, and they start applying for project managers too without any experience. Start little, gain the experience, target the organization you want to be in. It's not always all about the money to start with. It's about the experience first. Once you can get that under your belt, the money comes afterwards. Network with professionals, share knowledge. Knowledge transfer is powerful. I go on conferences just to network with people in the project management field, hear what is happening in their own organization. You pick up nuggets. A lot of the time now when I attend training or I go for all those things, it's sometimes to affirm what I already know and to enhance any knowledge that I need to enhance and to see what is new out there. So it's not always all the time that everything is going to be new to you. Sometimes it's just more of affirmation of what you currently know so that you know that you're still in tune with your profession. When now you are applying for the roles, apply for the project management role. Don't just take the plunge. Don't be afraid. If you've done all this, take the plunge. I took the plunge at that time. Yes, will you get a no? You will. But don't let the no discourage you. Keep going because the no is a way of saying, okay, we're actually looking at what you said. And these are the areas you need to improve on. So I don't shy away from feedback. The feedback at a very early stage is very, very important because they tell you things you may not have noticed. And you can work on those things for your next level. Keep learning, invest in yourself and grow in the profession. Learning doesn't stop. You learn every time. The more you learn, the more you know, the more you become an expert. Being an expert is not that you do it one time and it is done. No. Experts means you're developing yourself continually. So you have the CPD, you have things that you need to keep equipping yourself. You need to remain relevant in the profession because if you stop learning, that means in another year, especially in this world, you are left behind because you have old knowledge and knowledge has moved on. Next slide, please. Yes, I've just pulled out some common roles in project management, which we should all be familiar with. I started with a project management coordinator, analyst, officer. It depends on whatever name they give to you. Don't shy away from it. I always say to people, look at the job and look at the accountabilities or the list of the requirements, basically what experience they're looking for. So don't rule yourself out. Sometimes the job carries one big name. But when you look at the title, ignore the title, look at the responsibility, look at what they expect the person to do. If you can tick off 80% of that, go for the job. And that's why gaining that experience is very key. So you could be a project manager, you can be an assistant project manager. Within project management is where we have business analysts. Business analysts is always, I call them the early stage. We talked about the information gathering, the requirement gathering. They help you. They do all the modeling, the processing. They work through it, but they're very good at what they do. So if you are someone who likes process mapping, who likes putting things in order, who likes talking to, because you cannot be a business, not be a business analyst and be a solo person. No, you must be able to talk with a lot of people and they won't agree with you. But it's about pulling what is in A's mind, B's mind, C's mind, and pulling all those things together and say, okay, I have mapped A, B, C, D together. This is what it means. Am I clear? Okay, that is a good job for you if you enjoy it. If you enjoy process mapping, go for it. You will enjoy being a business analyst. A risk manager, if you're someone that is open to identifying risk and say, don't let people label you and say, oh, you're always so full of all these doom. Don't let them, it's a good skill. Because you're looking beyond the now. You're looking at what could go wrong. You are a value, an asset to an organization. There's not a lot of risk managers out there. And you can decide that is the area. It's a niche area. You can go, it applies to any industry. All these job roles are present in every industry you find yourself, in the financial sector, in the public sector, in the private sector, in the consulting world. They are present there. You have change manager. And change manager is something that is now big now in change management. Basically, it's about project, is about change. But you now have somebody who is now named a change manager, helping with the transition. So if there's any transformation work going on, if there's any change going on, because it involves a lot of people, you have the change managers. So it means that you must also be good in negotiation, in communication, in bringing transparency and paying attention to details. You must be highly skilled in engaging with people, understanding the unsaid from what is said. So you're a good listener. So that, if you have those skills, change management is a good place for you to go to, because that means you can take time to listen to people, gather everything, look at different methodologies to be able to do all these workshops with them. If you are good with workshops, do workshops, gather it, know the early adopters, know those people who are the late adopters, know the people who like to cause the chaos, and you will segment all of them. If you have those skills, you'll be a good change manager. And you now have the project planner. Project planner, I like them because all you need to do is give it to them. This is what project I want to deliver. This is a task we're planning to do. And they will just sit down behind their desk on their laptop or their computer using the tool. They bring everything out for you. They plan it with you. And they come to you and say, okay, this is what we've looked at. It's going to take you 18 months to deliver if this are all the things you want to do. So there's some people, they just enjoy crunching those numbers. Be their friend. If you're that kind of person, project planning will be very good for you, because you're going to talk to people, you gather the information, you go and process it for them. Next slide, please. Yes. I've pulled out just few qualifications if you're interested in accreditation. So this slide tells you about the accreditors we have. We have the APM, we have the Axelos, you have the Project Management Institute, the Agile Business Consortium, the Scrum Alliance. They have the major ones for UK. And even globally, you have the PMI. So the thing is, whatever you want to do, I will always advise in project management, get a certification, be accredited, so that you can have it in your name and say, I am accredited. And I always say to the people I've mentored, coached, and said, whatever makes you to do the foundation, make sure you finish and do the practitioner. Don't do it halfway. Because whatever they've taught you in foundation is exactly what will be taught in practitioner. It's just that the examination is always different. The details is different, but the knowledge, the content is the same. So once you start, always finish. Don't shy away from it. No matter what, nothing is difficult unless you make it difficult. Life is full of challenges, but we can always soar over those challenges. We can always win those challenges. And I'm sure this is the last slide, if I'm right. Any questions, please? Happy to have comments.
Well done. Thank you so much, Coach Desola. Thank you. Wow, that was really, really interesting. I could sit here for another hour listening to you. Thank you so much. Now, we've got questions. If you have questions, just raise your hand. I have a question. If you go back to, let's go back to the slide of accreditation. These accreditors, yeah. Now, a lot of my clients, especially those that have come from abroad, are going to do masters in project management. Can you tell me what that qualification, masters in project management, how does it align with this other accreditations? Does it supersede it, or it doesn't?
It doesn't. They're two separate. Yeah. They're totally two separate things. So, masters in project management is masters. It's like you having masters in any course. It's not a body. So you find something I found with one or two people who've done it, is the university have told them they need to go and do their accreditation, sit the exam. so that you are accredited to a particular body. So if you're going to be part of the APMP, you sit the exam with the APMP and you have a practitioner. So you can hold it and say, yes, I have a practitioner certificate. Yes, you'll have your master's in project management, but you also need that. It's like an engineer. You're an engineer, you graduated, but you want to be a chartered engineer, you need to go through it and get that accreditation. It's the same thing.
Wow, thank you so much for that clarity. Thank you so much. Any questions? If you have a question, you can unmute and ask. Or you can put it in the chat. I can see. Thank you for the comments in the chat. Thank you so much. It's encouraging. It encourages us to do what we do. Okay, any questions? I would ask you questions because I have questions myself. And actually, we have a couple of us that we have transitioned into project management and also into program management. I'm one of them as well. I used to be a business manager, then I transitioned into project management and then program management, and now in consultancy. So what we're saying is it is achievable. You can do it. Yeah. But there's no fast way to it. Stop looking for the fastest way like a microwave. No, it doesn't work when it comes to skills. And like what Coach Desola said, if you want to be an expert in what you do and you want to be paid for it, good money, you need to go through the process of development, of experience, of knowing your skills. Yeah, Lady Gertrude, go ahead, ma.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. The question I want to ask about this project management, and just as she said, you can have masters in various disciplines. Can somebody from, let's say, for instance, somebody that studied economics or masters in economics or any other subject, can they switch to switch to project management?
Yeah. Anybody, thank you for that question. As I said from the beginning, it's something that we do every day. Everyone is a project manager. So everybody can switch into project management. The only thing is understanding, is it for me? So if somebody studies economics, obviously, why not? And if not, it depends on the industry they want to work in. A teacher, I'll give you an example. So someone is a teacher in education, but in the school, they've decided within the school that they're going to change the way they teach a particular subject. So maybe before, it's always documented. And one of the things is they found out that not every child actually focuses on letters. So they decided they're thinking about introducing visual, colorful things into the learning frame, so that children who are visual will be able to see it, whereas students who like text will also understand it. So that could become a project for the teacher and say, okay, what do we do? How do we get there? Because, they started with the problem statement that some children are not connecting with the learning because they are not text-based. They are more visual. So how do we engage those children? So that's the problem statement. And how do we solve the problem is, oh, okay, let me go and research into how we can solve this problem. Let's see what other schools does. Let's see what is available out there. That's the project manager there. You've already started. Remember, you're a teacher. But your brain is thinking about problem solving. You have started thinking, how do we get around this? And in your research, you found that, we could use PowerPoints. We can have interactive boards. Remember? And you can have PowerPoints on your laptops. Okay. All right. Interactive boards. Okay. Those are two different mediums, laptops and interactive boards. Okay. Let's look at it. What's the cost? Which option should we go for? That's you delivering. And by the time you finish, the school probably looked at it and said, okay, we've got money to invest. We only have like £2,000. £2,000, if we're going to buy laptops, it won't be enough for all the students. But if we invest in the interactive board, all the students will be able to see it at once. So let's go for an interactive board. See, you looked at your options, you optionized, and you came to that solution. And they tried the interactive board. You say, let's try it for 1, 2, 3, a term. You know, the term is divided into 2. Probably you're in school where you have tests at the end of half of term. So the first term, half term, they use the interactive board with all this, especially with maths and subjects that the children find difficult to comprehend. And when they did that, and they found that the children were engaged, because you now ask the children, you come forward and write yourself, write on the board, and the child is able to rub it off themselves, and they can see that they're connecting with it. They're suddenly becoming a teacher rather than a teacher talking at them. You've changed the way they reason and think, and they can see themselves learning. Because what you've done is you introduced a different method, a different way of teaching of the children and engaging with them. They get sucked into it and it sticks. The assimilation rate increases and the child starts to enjoy coming to school. And they're not just looking at block text. They're now saying, I am able to be part of it. I understand it. You find out that the level of interaction increases. At the end, the school decided this is a good project. They rolled it out.
Wow.
Manager.
Yeah. Wow, that's a fantastic use case there. Thank you for that example. Now we've got about less than 5 minutes to go, and I've got one question for you. So, what are the common mistakes that junior project managers make that stops them from being promoted? Because I know you've managed a lot of project managers. So, what are the give us just like maybe 3 examples that people make that stops them from being promoted? Okay.
So I think one of the ones is you saying yes every time. Don't be a yes person. Sometimes you need to say no, and your no is a positive answer. I've seen project managers that says yes to everything, then they become overwhelmed and they don't deliver on what they're expected to deliver within the time plan. So it affects them and they're stressed out. So it's poor delivery. The attention to detail is another thing. If your attention to details is not there, it's really causes problem with projects. They might look small or tiny, but once you miss a key information, so for instance, there's a difference in somebody saying we're downsizing and relocating. So if you're moving from one premise, from one environment to another, okay, that's relocation. When you're downsizing means you're staying in the same place, but you're reducing your space, your occupation in that space, in that environment. There are 2 separate things. So you don't pull those 2 together without explaining the differences. Sometimes you have project manager telling you that. I've seen cases where they tell me, oh, we're downsizing, and I'm thinking, okay, fine. If you're downsizing, you're staying there. And it's, oh, no, we're actually moving out. No, because it's a different cost. It's a different requirement. So it's about understanding your requirements. And another thing project managers do is everything is in their head. You can't have everything in your head. You will forget. Document things. Write it down. Log it. Anything you experience, log it. It's for your own use, because you will come back later and see how valuable it will be. But when you have everything in your head and you do your planning in your head, that means you're already planning to fail.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Coach Desola. Thank you so much. Now, we are wrapping up now. We've just right on time. We've just 1 minute to go. So I want to say thank you for joining us today on Monday. We're here every Monday, Career Clinic. Please spread the word. This is a free webinar, very effective webinars for people working in the UK. Come and learn. Don't make mistakes. Learn how to pivot in your career and do it quickly. You don't need to do 3 years before you get promoted. No, you can be promoted in 6 months if you know what you're doing. Okay. So thank you all for coming. I'm going to hand over to, Loretta, you have your hand up quickly.
Yes. I just want to say thank you to her. This is very impactful information because she has highlighted one particular thing for people to actually go for training school. I've encountered a lot of issues with friends and family whereby a particular friend will say they train you to be a BA or project management and take money from them and nothing happens.
Yeah.
So if anybody's listening, Lady Diola, right? Desola, yeah. She said something very important, that it's good to go to the right way, even no matter how much it costs you, go through that pathway and get satisfied.
Yeah.
Than all that. So thank you very much. This is quite interesting.
You're right. A lot of people are wasting so much money, and then they start looking for work and they put it on their CV, but because they're not